This is Wonder. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of ELT with Sarvi. Yes, from now on we're going to call ourselves ELT with Sarvi, English Language Teaching with Sarvi. And in this episode we're going to talk about how to teach novels, readers and storybooks in our classes. If you're interested, keep watching. During each week, I have got between 4 to 5 lessons with my 6th and 7th graders. The first thing that I do is that I teach them about story elements. Who is a character? What is the theme of the story? What do we call a plot? What's exposition? What is resolution? If you want to know more about these story elements, you can watch this video of mine, either here or here. So it usually takes between 4 to 5 lessons for us to present them to the students, practice them through Pinocchio, Harry Potter, Cinderella. I usually try to give different examples from the stories that they have read before so that they could understand story elements. Then we usually have some questions on Jeopardy, Kahoot or quizzes or even Quizlet to practice what those terms are and test their knowledge of the whole thing. If you want to have some examples of Jeopardy, Kahoot, quizzes or Nearpods that you can play with your students to test their knowledge of story elements, just take a look at the links that I have put for you in the description box below. To tell the truth, Jeopardy is my favorite game, especially this year that my students don't have their own tablets, and playing Kahoot and quizzes have become a little bit harder for us as a whole class. So usually Jeopardy is the one that we can always go for. I basically team them up. I have got between 4 to 5 teams in each classroom. Each class has got 20 to 24 students. Then as they team up, I will show them some questions. They will have the time to think between 10 to 20 seconds, come up with the answer as a whole team, and then give me the answer. If I want to make it more challenging, I will tell them that in each round, only one person is allowed to answer the question and the rest of the team needs to be quiet. Again, if you don't know what Jeopardy is, you can take a look at this video of mine where I explained everything about how you can play the Jeopardy in the class and how you can play it in the conference hall, maybe just having a competition between 4 or 5 different classes. So step 2 is doing some pre-reading activities that can engage our students to the plot and the theme of the story. For example, this is our Wonder book that we are reading with my 6th graders for the 2nd semester. The 1st semester we finished Gangster Granny. For Wonder, what we did in the beginning, before starting the novel, was creating a poster about Down syndrome kids. Also, after finishing the project, what we did was talking about any Down syndrome kid we knew around us in our neighborhood, in our friends and family. Usually each classroom had maybe 1 or 2 students that had a story to tell. We understood the symptoms of Down syndrome, whether we should call them ill or we should just call it a situation that they're born with. While you're doing your pre-reading activities, if possible, you will try to teach some of the blocking vocabulary items as well. But in my case, because I work at school, there is a system. We use Quizlet for each chapter of the book, and each Quizlet can have like 20 to 30 words. I mean, it makes sense. It's a novel we're reading. It's not just a short reading. That's why I cannot give them all of the blocking vocabulary items that are in one chapter as we're doing our pre-reading activities. So what I do is that I just open up the Quizlet. Everybody is accustomed to it. I show them the Quizlet. I give them some time to write down the vocabulary items with their meanings if they want. And for Wonder, what I really like is that we have a booklet full of comprehension check questions, and also like even for vocabulary part, the blocking vocabulary items, students have like a page for each chapter, that they can write the meaning of the words, and also a sentence related to the book, so that when they want to practice for a quiz or something, they're not going to be all over the place trying to find out where is what. After they finish up writing all of the words in their notebooks, I will usually give them a reason to go back and look at those notes one more time. How? By grouping them up, doing the learn part of the Quizlet. It's a great tool for when you really want to practice with your students, because every time that a group cannot answer one question correctly, you will see that the questions are a spiral. They just come back until Quizlet makes sure that all of the vocabulary items are learned by your students. And the fun part here that I really love is that the questions are not just multiple choice. At some point, one person from each team will need to come to the board and type the word, which is the time that your students are working on the written form of the vocabulary items. My suggestion for you, if you work alone at home, like if you are a private tutor, or if you work for a school that doesn't provide the materials for you and you want to create your own material, is to just open up a Quizlet for each chapter of the book, write down the words and the meanings, and then just use the features. You can test your students through Quizlet. You can just use the learn part to practice the words after you present the words to the students. And even for homework, go home and play the matching game if you want to just practice the words. As far as I know, you can even print out the test part of each Quizlet that you create. Step number 4 is to read the novel. You can read it for them yourself. You can download the ebook, play chapter by chapter for them. You can ask your students to read paragraph by paragraph, highlighting the words that they had in the Quizlet, making them like recycle that information that was given to them before. And also, there is a better way. If your students have got tablets of their own, or they are allowed to at some point use their phones in the classroom, team them up and play Goose Chase. If you want to know what Goose Chase is and you don't know, you can check this video of mine. But just to tell you briefly, you can just have some comprehension check questions related to that chapter of your book on Goose Chase. Team your students up, ask them to play the Goose Chase and read the book at the same time. Usually for us, because here my students don't have their own tablets, we read the novel first and then we go to our booklets. We look at our booklets. There are some comprehension check questions, or even questions that will give us a nice discussion topic, and we try to analyze what we just read. The next step is doing projects. For me personally, the reason I do projects with my students is that it gives me a great opportunity to first assess what they have learned, to check their understanding of the novel, and also use their analytical and evaluative skills. Like 2-3 years ago, what I thought about assessment was that, okay, if my students can just memorize this part of the book, this part of the story, and through memory answer this question, that would have been proper assessment. But now, if I want to assess their understanding of the novel, what I do is that, for example, I ask them to tell me if they wanted to finish the novel, the story, in another way, what would they do? Or if they were blah blah character, how would they change their decision in that part of the story? As you can see, in order to answer this question, even if they haven't read the story like completely, even if they don't know all of the details, they can still use critical thinking, use their own opinion, and answer the question. If you want to see some examples of the projects that I have done with my students so far, you can take a look at here, and I will also put some links for you in the description box below. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video, and share it with your friends. I love you, and bye bye!